Here's my review for Only God Forgives.
Hey there guys, I'm wearing the drive jacket right now because we're going to talk about that in just a few seconds, but first let me tell you about that intro. It took place in my garage. Even spitting out fake blood makes you feel like a hard ass. Try it sometime. Okay, let's talk about Only God Forgives. Ryan Gosling's character Julian is compelled by his evil mother, which we'll talk about a little bit later. That's going to get a little bit weird and exciting. Anyway, he's compelled by her to avenge his dead brother. Only God Forgives is directed by Nicolas Refn, and let me give you a quick backstory. You know, the first time I watched Drive in the theater, I was like, I didn't know what to think about it. I was like, I enjoyed that. There's things about that I found very fascinating. Visually, I was stunned by it. And then I went back and watched it again later on Blu-ray, and I was just blown away by it. That's why I bought this thing. Come on, look at this. It's got a scorpion on the back. Sometimes I put this on, I drive around town, I go to the gas station, I buy a pack of bubble gum, and I feel like a badass. Now, the point I was trying to make is I understand Nicolas Refn as a director. You know, I get his visual style, his storytelling. He takes his time. He's got very interesting visuals. He's a very art house director, film noir type guy. And another thing about this guy is he does all those things, but he also introduces gruesome violence into the mix. So overall, going into this movie, I sort of knew what to expect from it. I wasn't looking for the typical Hollywood cliche revenge movie by any means. Okay, let's continue on with the plot of this movie. You have Julian played by Ryan Gosling. His brother does some shady shit. He's killed by another man, but the man who allows him to do this is, I wrote his name down here. Give me a second. It's Vithaya Pansringarm. I'll just put his name right here. This character in the movie is a little bit mystical and definitely a badass. This man's almost untouchable, and he almost decides the fate of everyone in this movie at one point or another. And his main objective in the movie, he's all about restoring order and balance. He's almost a godlike figure, I guess some could say. Okay, let's talk about Ryan Gosling's character Julian in the movie. This man's a drug dealer, sort of a lowlife, but at some points throughout the movie, you realize that he has a little bit of humanity to him. He's not pure evil, but overall, his character in this movie, from an emotional standpoint, is an exact replica of his character in the movie Drive. It's actually more than a replica, it's an exact duplicate, because this man has a lot of hidden anger that's hidden under the surface. He's very violent, very emotional. He has a lot of social awkward anxiety issues going on. Yeah, you talk to this guy, he just stares at you kind of awkwardly. There is a little bit of humanity. He wants to do the right thing when it comes down to it, but he just doesn't quite understand the human process of emotions to really go about doing it the proper way. So yeah, pretty much very reminiscent of his character in Drive. And he doesn't have a toothpick in his mouth. Okay, now it's time to talk about pure evil, and that's Kristin Scott Thomas's character. She plays Julian's mother in the movie, and this woman just conveys evil. I mean, she's a little bit hot, kind of milfy, even though the actress who plays her isn't that hot, but they put a lot of makeup on her in the movie. I don't know what was going on, and we'll just keep going. Now, that woman in this movie is pure evil. Essentially, she is the devil, and if you wanted to really break this movie down, you could say that she's the devil, another character in the movie is God, and Julian is stuck right in the middle. You know, he's conflicted between the good and the evil, kind of like a little angel and devil on your shoulder. Now, this movie's only about an hour and a half long, and it really feels like an hour and a half long movie. I mean, the basic story of this movie is very simple. The premise is, you know, it's there. It's not overly complicated or convoluted, though they do go a little bit far with the metaphors and symbolism throughout the movie to really give this bigger, deeper meaning to it. Now, some of it was a little bit obvious, some of it was a little bit understated, and some of the meanings in this movie were, I felt, left open to interpretation, especially one scene towards the end of the movie, but just watch the movie. And as usual, Nicolas Refn includes a lot of violence and gore in his movies. And I like the way this guy includes violence and gore because a lot of it's practical, it's very realistic. Yeah, I'm an advocate of violence in movies. I stand by that. When it's done well and it's done in a proportionate manner that makes sense to the story. And did the violence in this movie make sense with the story? I would say so. Now, as far as the overall story of this movie goes, it felt like the director got a little bit too self-indulgent every now and then, and he really slowed down the story, and he almost diluted it. Like, you're getting the story, and it's going, and it has momentum behind it, but he takes the story, wads it up. At times, it gets a little bit messy and starts losing focus, and as a viewer, it kind of took me out of the movie. And, you know, when a movie almost intentionally takes you out of that storytelling aspect, it kind of fails at doing its job. Only God Forgives. Overall, the movie visually looked great. The cinematography, I really enjoyed the way that the movie looked, but the way that the movie was told, the story that they had to offer in the movie, and the way that they laid it out, I thought really got lost somewhere. The movie just didn't quite do it for me, so I'm gonna give Only God Forgives a C+. And I think throughout the movie, the director may have become a little bit too pretentious, or I hate to use that word, maybe he got a little too carried away, and it really lost focus on the storytelling aspect of the movie. Okay, so that's my take on Only God Forgives. Let me know what yours is down below, or let me know what your favorite revenge movie of all time is. I would say that mine is Old Boy. If you've seen the movie, you know that's revenge. I mean, really think about that. Yeah, that is a complicated plan. But you know what? It was effective. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.